Hi everyone, I'm Alina, and today I need to share a story about workplace discrimination that completely changed my perspective on standing up for yourself. When my boss fired me for being pregnant, I thought my career was over. But what he didn't know was that I had been secretly recording our meetings for months. The lawsuit that followed? He still hasn't recovered from it. If you've ever dealt with a toxic boss who thought they could get away with illegal behavior just because they had power over you, this story is definitely for you. And trust me, the justice at the end is so satisfying. So let me give you some background first. I had been working at Davidson Marketing Agency for 3 years. I started as a junior account coordinator and worked my way up to senior account manager. My performance reviews were always excellent. I had brought in several major clients and I genuinely loved what I did. My boss Mark seemed to respect my work. He promoted me twice and often praised my dedication in team meetings. I thought we had a good professional relationship. I was so wrong about what would happen when I told him I was pregnant. When I found out I was pregnant, David and I were over the moon. We had been trying for a year, and this felt like the perfect time in our lives. I was stable in my career. We had just bought our house. Everything was falling into place. I decided to tell Mark early at around 8 weeks because I wanted to be transparent and start planning for maternity leave. I scheduled a private meeting with him on a Friday afternoon. "Mark, I have some exciting personal news to share. I'm pregnant," I told him with a huge smile. His expression immediately changed. The warm, supportive boss I thought I knew just vanished. Instead of congratulations, he said, "Oh, well, I guess we'll need to discuss how this affects your responsibilities." That should have been my first red flag, but I was so excited about the pregnancy that I brushed it off. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing changes. Subtle at first, but definitely there. Mark stopped including me in client strategy meetings. Projects I had been leading were suddenly reassigned to other team members. When I asked about it, he would say things like, "We need people who can be fully committed right now," or "I don't want to overwhelm you in your condition." My condition? I was pregnant, not terminally ill. I was perfectly capable of doing my job, maybe even better because I was so motivated to prove myself before the baby came. But the worst part was how he started talking about my reliability. In team meetings, he would make comments like, "We need to make sure our client relationships are stable, especially when team members might not be available." Everyone knew he was talking about me. Things got worse as my pregnancy became more visible. Mark started making comments that were clearly inappropriate, but always phrased in a way that seemed almost innocent if you didn't know the context. During one team meeting, he said, "Some people's priorities change when they start families. We need team members who put the company first." Again, while looking directly at me. Another time, when discussing a major project timeline, he said, "We can't rely on people who might need to leave unexpectedly. Pregnancy isn't exactly predictable, is it, Alina?" I was mortified. My colleagues were uncomfortable too. Sarah, who sat next to me, started giving me sympathetic looks. Tom, one of the senior managers, actually came to my office later and said, "What Mark is doing isn't right. You should document everything." That's when I started keeping detailed notes of every interaction. But then I had an even better idea. My phone had a voice recording app. I started recording every meeting with Mark, every one-on-one conversation, every time he made a discriminatory comment. I know some people might think that's sneaky, but I felt like I needed to protect myself. Mark was clearly building a case to get rid of me, and I needed evidence of what was really happening. The recordings were eye-opening. When I listened back to our conversations, the pattern of discrimination was so obvious. He would question my commitment, make veiled threats about my job security, and constantly bring up my pregnancy as a liability. One recording was particularly damaging. Mark said, "Honestly, Alina, I'm wondering if this company is the right fit for someone in your situation. Maybe you should consider looking for something more family-friendly." He was basically telling me to quit. The final straw came when I was 6 months pregnant. Mark called me into his office on a Tuesday morning. I knew something was wrong because he avoided eye contact and had HR present. "Alina, we've been reviewing your recent performance and we've decided to make some changes to the team structure," he began. I had been expecting this, so I discreetly started recording on my phone. "We're going to have to let you go. Your performance has been inconsistent, and we need people who can handle the demands of their role without distractions." "Inconsistent performance?" I asked. "Can you give me specific examples?" Mark fumbled around, mentioning missed deadlines that never happened and client complaints that didn't exist. It was clear he had nothing concrete. The HR representative, Janet, looked uncomfortable. She kept glancing between Mark and me like she knew this was wrong, but wasn't brave enough to speak up. I maintained my composure and asked for everything in writing. Mark seemed relieved that I wasn't arguing or making a scene. He probably thought I would just accept it and walk away quietly. But as I was packing up my desk, I looked at Mark and said, "You know, Mark, I hope you're confident in your decision-making process." "What do you mean?" he asked. "Oh, just that I hope you followed all proper procedures. I'm sure everything was done by the book." The look of confusion on his face was priceless. He had no idea what was coming. That same afternoon, I contacted an employment lawyer who specialized in discrimination cases. When I told her my story and mentioned that I had recordings, her eyes lit up. "You recorded the conversations?" she asked. "Hours of them," I replied. "This is exactly what we need. What your boss did is textbook pregnancy discrimination, and with recordings, we have undeniable proof." Within a week, we filed a lawsuit against Davidson Marketing Agency for pregnancy discrimination, wrongful termination, and creating a hostile work environment. The recordings were our smoking gun. When Mark and the company's lawyers heard the evidence during our first mediation meeting, the color drained from Mark's face. Hearing his own voice saying those discriminatory things, recorded crystal clear, was devastating to their case. My favorite recording was when he said, "Pregnant women are unreliable employees. They'll always put their families before the company. We can't build a strong team with people who have divided loyalties." The company's lawyer actually winced when that recording played. They tried to claim the recordings were illegal, but my lawyer explained that in our state, only one party needs to consent to recording a conversation. Since I was part of every conversation, the recordings were completely legal. The mediation that was supposed to last all day ended in 3 hours. The company offered a settlement that was more than I made in 2 years at that job. But the money wasn't even the best part. The best part was watching Mark realize that his career was over. Word spread quickly in our industry about what had happened. No respectable marketing agency would hire someone with a proven track record of discrimination. Mark was fired 2 weeks after our settlement was finalized. 6 months later, I gave birth to my beautiful daughter, Emma. During my maternity leave, I had time to think about what I really wanted to do with my career. I decided to start my own marketing consultancy. The settlement money gave me the financial cushion to take the risk, and my experience with workplace discrimination made me passionate about creating a better work environment for other women. Within a year, my consultancy was thriving. I hired 3 other women who had faced similar discrimination at their previous jobs. We built a company culture based on respect, flexibility, and supporting working mothers. The irony? 2 of my biggest clients were companies that wanted to improve their workplace policies after hearing about discrimination lawsuits in the industry. Mark's actions didn't just destroy his career, they actually helped me build mine. I still have those recordings saved on my phone. Not because I need them anymore, but because they remind me that standing up for yourself is always worth it, even when it feels scary. David loves to joke that Mark accidentally gave me the best career advice ever by firing me. If he hadn't, I might never have had the courage to start my own business. So that's my story. Have you ever dealt with workplace discrimination or a boss who thought they could get away with illegal behavior? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments. If this story inspired you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more real-life stories. Trust me, I have plenty more where that came from. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.